Yael Miller, hi.
Hi.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm very excited that you are here. You work at Monday as a director of content marketing, and that means that you do both marketing, but you do take care in some of the HR's fields, like how you communicate your internal story, and I guess that's so much more than that. But I want to start with where you were born. What did you do in your life? How did you get to Monday?
Sure. So I was actually born in Israel, but moved to the US when I was a baby. Grew up in Atlanta. I had kind of a not traditional path into marketing. Started off in communications, but with the US Army and the US Marine Corps. So working with in national security, I studied Arabic in university and studied abroad in all sorts of interesting places.
Yeah, I've heard of one.
Yes. I studied abroad in Jordan and in Morocco and also in Israel, and traveled all over the Middle East. And then worked with the US Army and US Marine Corps on how to communicate and how to explain complex messages, talk about difficult cultural communication issues, things like that. And then worked in disaster relief.
Wow.
So I worked for the U.S. Agency of International Development, USAID, which is now non-existent, unfortunately. Okay. And I reported on the U.S. government activities in East and Central Africa. So I lived in Kenya for 2 months and really specialized in communication. And then transitioned to the private sector, worked with at a boutique company where I worked with dozens of CEOs from Fortune 50s to small startups on how to communicate their messages internally and externally. And then moved, worked at NICE for a period of time in internal communications, and then came to Monday about 5 years ago.
Wow. And
there was no content marketing team, and so I built the team from the ground up, and now we're 20 people. So it's been really, really exciting.
Okay, tell me more about that. What does it mean?
So content marketing is essentially the story we tell about our company. So whether it's internally to our employees, how we present our company externally, how we sell our company to the market and its services, that's what we do. So anything around the messaging, around how Monday markets itself, that's my team.
Why is it important?
I think that, especially when you're operating in really crowded spaces, even in terms of the employee brand, or whether you're looking externally, you've got to differentiate yourself. And without a really concrete story that explains why your company is different, why you should come work here, why the culture within your company is different, why the way that you position yourself in the market, your product is different, nobody will really understand why to come to your company or why to work with your company or why to buy your product. And that's why I think storytelling, frankly, in many ways is the differentiator between companies.
Do you ever work with the HRs or organizational development or?
So right now I work less with the HR department. Previously I worked more in my previous roles. And now I work a lot, especially when Monday was about to IPO, I actually wrote the business case for how we went to market. So that I worked a lot with the HR department and our head of HR to understand what makes our company different, what are our values like, things like that.
How do you do that? Because it's like
it's a huge
project. Can be like a big password.
Product and the company, everything kind of mirrors each other. So the values that you place in your product or your service or the thing that you're providing, a lot of times mirrors what you see in the company. And I think that's where you find the real things.
How many employees are you?
We're about 2,800, I think, now.
All right.
So really, really big.
How did you get to Monday exactly?
So I had been working in internal communications, and I really felt that given also my previous experience, I wanted to be much wider. So it was actually a pretty smooth transition. And then I was just really lucky to come in when there wasn't a content marketing team. Monday, a lot of times we look, at least in the early days, I think now it's shifted a little bit. We looked a lot at potential. Also on my team, sometimes I will hire somebody and I'll interview them and be like, I think you're actually a better fit for a different role. Sometimes it's in my department, sometimes it's not. And I think that's one of the things that we look at. It's similar to kind of the cultural discussion. Like, what are the cultural attributes that you have, and where will those best fit in the org?
Yeah, so I'm very curious if there are any parallel attributes of people that work in HR from what you know to the marketing teams.
Sure.
And also you do the internal part, but do you ever communicate with the external marketing team?
Yes, of course. I think there's actually a lot of similarities between how an HR person works versus how a marketing person works. Mm-hmm. And in general, across the company, I think that's why at Monday we have a really, really strong company culture, because really look for the similar attributes in every person. And it's which is very, very data driven. So somebody who's constantly looking at data, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, thinking, do I have the numbers? Do I need to interview people that are kind of have this drive to find the data behind the story? Mm-hmm. So even in HR, our HR is extremely data driven. Product mirrors the company. So I joke that our HR people need to work for the FBI.
Oh, very good. I love it.
They are incredible at asking kind of behavioral questions to understand, is this person motivated by ego? Are they motivated by money?
Pure questions. Do they do any game?
They mostly do questions and also through assignments, but most of the time they just ask questions about, like, tell us a time when you failed, tell us a time when something didn't go well. And they really know how to probe deep. So once they get one answer, they dig in deep. Wow. That's another kind of attribute of people at Monday, is that it's like going the extra mile.
The people, or do they teach them how to do that?
I think it's the people. I don't know that I think we look for people that already have these capacities.
It's like being highly sensitive and highly 100% accurate.
HR is a deciding partner.
Okay.
So in the recruitment process, somebody's not going to get hired if the HR department if the HRBP doesn't say it's a go.
I like it. It's like the front guards.
Right, exactly. And I think a lot of times people take the HR interviews like granted. It's like, oh, I'm already in. It's just a formality. And I always say to people who I'm advising who are coming to mind, that don't take it as a formality. It is a true step in the process. And I think that's like these kind of cultural values of being data driven, of being kind of going the extra mile, of being good collaborators, that we're really looking for in every employee.
You care how much they studied or what degree they have, or is it more about the personal communication, what happens in the interview, what kind of a CV can pass or not pass?
And it's a lot about how do you approach problems, what's the way that you think about them, are you data driven, are you a good collaborator, the same cultural values that we're looking for. And a lot of times it does boil down to how do you perform in the interview.
Do you think that you guys know in Monday some kind of a secret that other companies haven't discovered yet?
I think a lot of times companies, as they get bigger, they start to like, okay, we don't really need that. And they start to kind of blur the lines between what they really want. They start to like really compromise on the talent, and that we don't do. We don't do that. I mean, we are willing to keep a position open for a very, very long time, even if we can't find anybody.
Are you guys 2,800, you said, employees?
Yes.
2,800 employees that are the same? Like, because you say that there are so many...
I've interviewed a few different, diversity.
Talk about diversity, so...
I think that was something we struggled with for a long time, frankly. I used to joke that I hired the same person over and over again on my team. As a manager, where do I compromise? Where do I say, okay, but I really need this skill. How is this person going to complement rather than necessarily change?
When you started, I want to hear about like your day, how it looks like, how did you start it, and what's your day look like now?
So I think my positions changed actually in an insane amount over the past 5 years. Because I had 2 people on my team.
Which were?
2 content marketing managers.
So you were 3 content marketing managers. You were like copywriters.
We were writing blog posts. We were writing pitch decks. We were writing all these type of things. A lot of hands-on work.
That means that you got to do like social media, or you got like what do you need to know?
We did a little bit of social media. We did a little bit of blog posts. You needed to know everything, really.
All right.
You needed to know everything.
Because we need to know everything, but internally to the companies.
No, external.
Also external.
Yeah.
External.
All right. And as the team grew, we became more focused externally. We had a comms team that now handles a lot of the internal comms. And as the team grew, I think 80 to 90% of our work was external. And me as a manager, as the team grew, now I have managers of managers on my team. And so my work has become much more strategic of where should we be focusing on, what are the subject areas we need to own in the market, how do we make sure that our customers understand the value that we're providing to them, and less about kind of these other topics.
I would ask you, just because you
prepared the ground.
You prepared the ground for the difference between branding and marketing, because I feel like you're dealing a lot with that. You're playing with it. There is some kind of a tension between it. They work together. Sometimes one is a tool for the other.
I think it's always a challenge, because branding at the end of the day is one of these subjects that I call are squishy. it's not easily measurable. And at a company like Monday, that's very data-driven, it's hard. It's hard to talk about the impact of brand. And I think there's always a tension there. And the point is, I think sometimes that you have to help marketing understand how their bottom line is improved by brand. And I think that's one of the things I think is really important, regardless of who you're communicating with or working with. Understand what are they trying to achieve and how can I help them achieve that. And I think when you think about it in that way, same as brand needs to understand how marketing can help them understand, place the brand in more volume in the market.
So how did you create Monday's values? And how do you navigate them through your messages?
So we work primarily with our CEOs. We don't have a CMO at Monday, so all of the marketing leadership reports directly to.
Why though? Why is not somebody doesn't get a raise to be a CMO?
I think they're still looking for the right person given the size and scale of Monday. So a lot of it is working with them, but also with the other executive leaders in the company, and also understanding.
Which is how many?
Let's say 6 members of the core team, or maybe 7.
I'm trying to understand how many people you're dealing with, trying to build a brand, the content strategy.
So the way that when we think about the brand, we start with the CEO, then we go to a couple other people, maybe 2 or 3 people who have a specific investment in them. For instance, our CRO has a very big investment in how our customers perceive our brand. We might then also go to our COO, who is working very heavily with sales teams on the operational part of things, and sometimes we'll have some insights. And then we mostly work within the marketing department and with sales. It is a lot of people. I mean, it really, really is a lot of people. And I think that's why in any kind of project like this, you need to have an owner who just at some point needs to start making some decisions. The way that it starts off is that we create a core team that works on it. And it's taken people from HR and also from product and also from customers. And we create a draft and then start to sit with all of these different stakeholders to understand what's their opinion on this.
It's amazing. Because you definitely get the full story.
And so we sit with all of them, we go and do interviews, and then we sit with our CEOs until we get to the final product.
Why is it called Monday?
I think it was just they didn't want Mondays to suck kind of thing. And it's like you start your work week, it's associated with a work week kind of thing.
What is your day look like?
So right now, I get into the office, and I usually have quite a few one-on-ones with my team. A lot of times I'll have there's a couple different strategic projects we're working on a new brand book. So
you actually worked on how many brand books of Mondays did
3.
you work on? Okay, and why is it changing?
Look, the messaging changes and the company changes. We have now multiple products. The products all speak a different voice and tone. How do they work with each other? Given the changes in the market, even if you talk about AI and things like that, the whole market changes. And the company story needs to adapt with that. So there's always kind of a change, a shift in the messaging strategy, a shift in what we want to tell the market, because we have to be adaptive to that. But the values don't change.
Was there anything that you ever produced on your team in the last 5 years that was internal? I'm especially focusing on that somebody came to you in the hallway or on a coffee break or something like that and said, I loved it, I enjoyed something that you wrote, something that you created, initiated. It was very clear to you what was the meaning of your work.
Sure.
So how did you affect in your way the engagement of other people, other employees?
Sure. One of the things that we work on every year is our internal company kickoff. So this is the internal kind of kickoff to the year for all of our employees. So we write all the presentations and do all of the materials for our internal company kickoff. And these are really important messages for our employees to know. It's where we're going as a company, what's important to us, how do we see them playing a role in there. And in a few of them, employees have come up to me afterwards and said, I really understand our strategy around our work management product. Or, wow, all of a sudden it clicked for me and I understood why we're placing so much emphasis in AI. And I think that thinking about that and those kind of messages where the executives are on the stage and they've got to tell thousands of employees what's important to them and how they fit into this puzzle called Monday, I think all of that it was really inspiring and engaging for that.
What's important for someone who organizes something like that to be there? What's important to include in the agenda so that
that's a great question.
Would be successful?
I think you need to balance kind of 2 aspects. One is presentation of information, which is, for instance, you have things like product announcements, or maybe you have important business updates if you're not selling a product. or maybe you have things that are going to affect them in terms of the way they hire people or manage people, or the way they work in teams. Maybe you have some difficult news to deliver. You know, there's a lot of things that can happen. But the other part is engagement. Because you have to deliver this in an engaging way that people are going to be, one, be excited, leave the room and say, wow, let's do this. And two, also make sure that they understand the complexities in the message. Because a lot of times we remember three things, right? So what are those three things that you want them to remember, and make sure that those are the right three things that they remember because they did it in an engaging and interesting way.
Our way to create engagement within teams and corporates is to gamify things, to do gamification. So I'm asking, do you use any gamification, you personally in your team or Monday in general? And if not, what's your way to engage people?
Sure. I think we do. We have done some gamification in the past, and I think it's an incredibly powerful tool for getting people and customers engaged. But we also do like fun games at Monday sometimes, like we did on stage. They call it Wheel of Monday, and it's like Wheel of Fortune, where you play a game with Monday. We do take a very playful approach to things. So for instance, like you might see like a little QR code hidden, and you need to see what it, like all of a sudden it'll tell you about some update in the company or things like that.
It sounds like you're having fun. You're not so serious, so...
We are a playful company, and I think that is the spirit of like having games in your company, is the idea that like you don't have to be so serious, and actually that's what differentiates you. In a world of enterprise blue and people in suits, we've got a llama singing Rihanna songs, and you can do all sorts of fun things in the platform, and things will pop up when you hit done. There's confetti. There's a llama farm dashboard where llamas will poop when you like complete a task. Like, and so I think that's why games and gaming and gamification of things and making things fun for people, that's how you engage them. Otherwise, it's just any other company and any other boring company presentation.
Do you guys have any communities? Like internal communities on...
We have a lot, actually. We call them employee resource groups, and so we have a lot. The company also provides a small amount of funding to these ERGs. So we have them in the United States, we have them in Israel, we have, for instance, a women's ERG, a Muslim employees ERG, we've got Latinx, we've got all sorts of different queer communities, things like that. At Monday, and they're provided with like a small stipend to bring in speakers and to talk to different people, and they're around interests and also cultural identities and things like that. We have Orthodox employees, we have all sorts of different communities. We have a singles community, I think there's one on real estate, there's all sorts of cool stuff.
What do you think that HRs should learn from marketing?
I think that there are a couple things that HR can learn from marketing. I think one, games, I think is really great and engaging for people. I think two, also thinking about how do employees consume information now? So, and it's the same way with marketing. Maybe it's email newsletters, maybe it's Slack messages, maybe it's other ways that people are engaging with things now, and try to think a little outside the box. And then I also think the other thing is how to be very concise and clear in your messaging. And so sometimes, because we're so inundated with information, just say it straight. Just figure out a way to say it straight in a polite way, etc., especially when it comes to difficult messages. And I think that's one thing where marketing, you know, sometimes we do play around with words, but at the end of the day, there's an offer, you need to click on a button, you need to sign up, and you need to learn from those things.
What are 3 big mistakes that a marketer can do?
Well, there's a lot. The number one mistake that's the most damaging is ignoring cultural context in ads or in advertisements. The second thing is not being KPI focused. Creating, I say I don't hire artists on my team. I'm not creating content for the sake of the written word. I'm creating content because there's a KPI behind the content and it needs to achieve something. So that's another point that I would say, make sure that you're really KPI driven. And the third thing is getting arrogant.
What would you say to yourself 15 years ago?
Oh, wow. So 15 years ago, I would probably say, 15 years ago I was working for the US government, and the US government's a hard job. They're not easy people. And I would just say, learn as much as you can, absorb as much as you can. Try your best to seek out unconventional experiences, things that are gonna give you a different perspective on life, and then go do something else. Because I think one of the things I feel like I see when I talk to younger people interested in marketing is they're all pursuing the same thing. So I always say, like, seek out something different, absorb as much as you can, and then continue on.
And we haven't talked about AI at all, but if you want to say something about
Sure.
AI and how much do you see it in your work, in your day?
Sure. If we're not going to be the drivers of AI, we're going to be the passengers, and that's not a good look. It's coming. The train has departed the station. We need to know how to own the technology in a way that it complements our work and a way we still show our strategic value. And my point is that this frees you up in order to do the strategic thinking work that you have. AI is a tool to help you get better at what you do and to outsource the things that are repeatable and that you can do over and over again. But you've got to learn how to use it.
Two last questions.
Yeah.
One, do you have any advice for HR, OD, people who are dealing with people, because you're doing it on the client kind of side or on the very, very internal side? Do you have any insight or one big golden tip that you can give HR?
Just say it. Just say it. Don't tiptoe around it. Figure out a way to say something in a way that's respectful and clear and easy for people to understand, because the clouds that you create when you're vague is worse than sometimes just saying a difficult message or saying something straight to people.
Do you have any final thought or insight or something that you want to say, maybe an optimistic message in the future in a very controversial country that deals with a lot?
I think the one thing I'd say is I think adversity and having things that are hard sometimes builds a lot of character. And somebody once told me that in many other countries, I'm in like the trains metaphor today, that life is like a train, and in Israel, and it's like there are no highs, there's no lows. And in Israel, the highs are very high and the lows are very low. And I think you just have to learn how to appreciate when things are really good, and it gives you a lot more perspective on life.
Yeah, I'm so excited and happy and thrilled and fulfilled by this interview and the fact that you came. I loved hosting you here.
Thank you for having me.
All your thoughts and insights. It taught me a lot. You're a sunshine. I'm happy that you're here on the formal side of our relationship as of now. And I hope that we'll continue talking, because I think that personally I have so much to learn. And thank you for being here. It sounds like you're having so much fun on Monday, so keep doing that.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and you guys are amazing, and I think that what you're doing is really shaking up kind of the traditional world of communication and development and learning, and I think that's so needed.
Thank you. We appreciate that.